Welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the Improvisational Storytelling Podcast, where every week a few friends get together with our ideas that we definitely didn't just come up with on the spot. I am, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we're here to recap the last 4 years, kind of, and say what it is we want to do with the new year. So for us, it's Christmas Day. Beautiful. Merry Christmas, everyone. And we were just talking, Seth and I were talking mostly, but we've roped Reed in about what it is we want to do. If you haven't listened to any of our previous episodes, we have over 200 of them. Go back and listen to them. We've spent a lot of time coming up with ideas, trying to figure out what's the coolest way to come up with this idea. But as the new year's turning over, I personally am trying to procrastinate less and actually write a story. So we've come up with a writing challenge, as you will. Some of us are willing, some of us are less willing to do it, which is fine. But we're going to try and write 3 short stories in the next 6 months, right? Not each of us write 3 short stories, but each of us write 1 short story in the next 3 months. There's no sort of page count or character count or anything like that, word count or anything like that. But I'm just interested in what our different perspectives, we're well read, and I feel like we have good ideas. And I think that if we could follow this through, it would be really helpful and good for us. Sound good, everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we're going to do today is draw 6 elements, and then do a little bit of our classic improvisation to sort of come up with the ideas, and then check in 2 months. We'll go back to business as normal next week, with the story elements and everything like that. But then in about 2 months, we'll have another episode as each of us kind of give a little bit of an update as to like where our story's going, and maybe introduce you to a character or talk about our struggles, or get some advice from each other. Sound good, everyone?
Yeah.
I'm down. This is good.
Okay. So I am just going to use, as I typically do off the air, a random number generator. You can hear my keyboard clicking away to draw 2 of our sort of main world building elements, right? So the ones we have the options are history, beginning scene, something based on a book you're reading, sequel, magic system, author, genre, economic system, pantheon, government type, and prophecy. Now, for the sake of short stories, we're not gonna do beginning scene, or sequel.
I would say maybe author.
Author as well, because we are the author.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1 to 8. So our first is prophecy. Reed, are you writing that down?
Yep.
Great. So, Seth, while I draw this other one, let me know what the prophecy is.
Oh, let's see. So the prophecy is...
What immediately jumped into my head was lights from the heavens when I was thinking about prophecy. I don't know if that's inspired.
Okay.
I'm not St. Paul or anything, but that might be inspired.
Okay. So I was thinking I could tie in lights from the heavens, but the prophecy is in a dig somewhere. They have come across an ancient tome or grimoire of sorts. It could be, simple, bits of writing that are connected to some kind of important tribal or ancient culture, that maybe there's some of these people still around, but like my mind is thinking kind of like to the Native Americans here in America.
Right.
But, something like that where they're still around, and there's pockets that, are still familiar with the old ways, the old things. But perhaps something was found in a burial site that is connected to like this foretelling that, as you said, maybe, the lights coming from the heavens and alighting upon a chosen one.
So I had this crazy thought as you were talking.
Okay.
So what they find isn't a tome so much as like a kind of like a binary, like a message in binary, So somehow they received like a flashing and they wrote down this message in binary, and they had no concept of binary, but they wrote down this kind of like off, on, off, on, off, off, on sort of thing. And it's kind of keyed to the reason why they consider it a prophecy is it's kind of keyed to this moment where a bunch of civilizations around the world kind of turned the next level in development. And kind of like the Mayan calendar, it also gives an indication that there's something else, like it's going to happen again. So they find in this burial ground like a tablet, with this inscription of like off on. And now that we're much more advanced, we kind of understand what was written there. How does that land on you?
Yeah. My mind is going to like almost something more hieroglyphic,
Okay.
where maybe a couple different colors. So I'm kind of envisioning like these like inscriptions of like people looking at the sky,
Right.
but then there's like, these 3 or 4 beams, and then they'll all be like blank, and then like one color will be on,
Right.
and then the next frame it'll be like yellow and blue,
Yeah.
and those lines are always yellow and blue,
Right.
and then they'll be like yellow, blue, green, and red or something, right? Or maybe 5. Let's pick 5.
Yeah, because if you use 3 or 5 colors, your complexity of code is much higher than if you just use binary. So
Yeah.
that's better.
So 5. So it'd be yellow, blue, red, to green, and purple.
Yeah. That's stuff you could mix together using primary colors.
Yeah.
So ancient Native Americans or whatever could have, acquired dyes from the right places in order to sort of reproduce that.
Yeah. And so then it's like almost like, and you were just talking about comics earlier. And so I'm almost envisioning that they find this thing, but it's all done out in comic, like
Yeah.
a comic form, where it's like panels, where then you have the one and these ones are on, and then the next one, and then these ones are on, and then the scene that's going on the ground with what they're doing changes, which then
Yeah.
also tells a story, and as far as like what's supposed to be happening with what these colors might be indicating. So like in the one, maybe there's like this town, like a village, right? There's huts, and it shows, they're all off. And then it shows like maybe like the next frame has yellow and blue on, and you have like a more communal building, some better looking huts,
Right.
like an agriculture. And then it's like yellow and blue are off, and red and green and purple are on, and like the river is flooding, and then like I don't know, something like that, which it's showing almost like these different things were then the different, and it doesn't have to be so straightforward like that. There could be like a couple hundred glyphs
Right.
showing different things associated with different
Color combinations. Yeah.
that would indicate that. But also you could read into like a binary code, a possible like a binary, or and not binary because there's 5.
Well, you could,
So
people
quadary.
have figured out how to use so if we do red and green binary, that also gives us a message. If they figure out how to do these 2 colors binary, that always also gives us a message. So it's layered. It's like 5 codes, but then each one, when paired with each other, also give a binary code. So it's like a multi-layered transmission. And what people are realizing is that it sort of both talked about the fact that this was going to happen again, and talked about the fact that this was kind of a universal. It starts like, I think the story should center around the Native American inscriptions that were found, but the people quickly realized that it was around the whole world that this happened.
And it doesn't have to be Native American. I mean, depending on what we pull in with the other things, we don't have to go with that. We can do. I was just trying to get like an ancient, I'll say ancient culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's still semi around today.
Right. Cool. Okay. Well, that is the first one. Reed, you got all that written down?
I've got some written down. Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm sure it'll be fine. We can go back and listen to this. I'll write up some notes once we're done recording this, and we can go back and listen to it. So the next one I drew was magic system for a beginning. Reed, do you have any weird ideas for a magic system? We've already done a light-based magic system based on the Lightbringer. Right.
So again, like the first thing that came to my mind had to do with rings. Now, I mean, we're obviously talking Lord of the Rings earlier too, but like I was just imagining like these mages with like super important like turquoise ring and having to do something, or
Right.
so maybe color coded, but not necessarily that the magic has to be coded to the colors and have anything to do with the glyphs. But
I was kind of thinking of when we talk about colors and different combinations. I was kind of thinking of not Independence Day, National Treasure, right? Where he got Benjamin Franklin's glasses and like did different colors over the eyes, allowed you to see different things. It could be something as simple as transdimensional glass filters that so it's not a magic system that you can use to affect anything, right? It's just a magic system that you use to perceive things. So you have different glass that goes in front of your eyes that allows you to sort of filter certain elements or aspects of the world out. You can have a pair of glasses that allow you to see in the infrared. You have that means that glass makers are like a coveted craft. Those who can temper glass the right way, those who can get the right shade in order to sort of cut through, even someone's demeanor. You can put them on and it cuts through their demeanor, and all stemming from this sort of revelation of these sort of light flashes and their combinations and what that did to humanity, or the people, we'll call them humans, what that did to humanity. This sort of so it's so super passive, but also if someone walks in with the right kind of specs, they can see through a lie, or they can maybe even see around a corner.
so I'm going back, and like I said with rings, like a mood ring.
Okay, yeah, rings can be a part of it. You can have things like a cloak made of a color, like Disney has. Like in Disneyland, they have "Don't Look at Me" green, and it's a green that they paint onto the walls of utility buildings, and your eyes actually kind of slide around it because it's like the right shade that your eyes like discount it. So rings, that would make a lot of sense. Mood rings, rings that change color, with what you're feeling or what you're perceiving, you know, and then also things like colors of fabric, paint of houses, in order to disguise or in order to draw the eye. Merchants obviously paint their carts in the like lock eyes on me yellow, so you like kind of like when you're at a bar and you like there's a bunch of games on the TV, but you're not there just watching these sports, but your eyes keep like getting pulled over to the screens because of the LED lights and the fact that it like triggers parts of the brain, that same kind of thing, except everywhere, you know? And so that means die makers, um, glass makers, these people who kind of have this skill are not considered magicians, but considered the most high craftsmen. So this is kind of a magic system that doesn't have a magic user yet. Obviously we can create whatever we want, but it kind of is this passive light based, but not like the light bringer where you're drafting light, but just light, you know, can be has a much higher prominence in the human psyche and the human understanding. So, you walk into a room and everything is colored just so to give you that one specific emotion. Before you go in front of the king, it's subservient brown. You feel lower. And he is dressed in royal purple. And you look at him and your brain, because of the teaching and the history, your brain automatically puts him at a higher place than you because he's surrounded by higher than you subservient brown, but he's wearing royal purple. And so, just that kind of subtle up and down that can happen, which already happens, in advertising and stuff, but it just takes a more prominent field.
Prominent role. I
Right.
almost think like cobblers, right? I just pick cobblers, where then they would or any trades,
Right.
where like a master would be allowed to wear a certain like patented
Right.
color, and it would distinguish him as the master, right? An apprentice in that would have like a almost like coat of arms, but it's like different colors that would assign, so that all of that almost like having not like your life displayed for everyone to see. But as far as what other people would need to associate with,
Yeah.
would be associated to then the color manipulation or patented color presentation of what was around them.
There's two examples from the Wheel of Time books that come to mind. One is
Yeah.
the warder's cloak. It talks about this. It's you can't really tell, but when you look at it, like, is that green or is it gray or is it brown but it's like you lose track of. You can't keep its shape in your mind. It's almost like it blends into
Right.
whatever surface or any circumstance that he finds himself in. And the other, of course, is the gleeman's coat with the multicolors and the flaps that are flapping in. He can do a flourish with his cloak, and the colors
Right.
change and sparkle, and it's to draw attention. It's like a carnival barker. Step right up. That kind of a thing. Those two examples, and then of course the card and sword. I don't know how to pronounce it, but the aielware, to blend in.
Right. Right.
And so I think with the magic system, you have the world dominated by color presentation. But then part of that is, like you said, with the glasses, where that then itself is such a high trade because that sees past.
Yeah, you can cut through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
see
not everyone has glasses, even like moderately successful people only have a monocle. If a person is walking around in full spectrum spectacles, with, multiple spectacles, like, what's his name in The Lightbringer? He had like a pair of spectacles for every different shade of color. You look at that and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't even, like, how did you sell a kingdom to get that? That's cool. Okay.
Well, and the other thing is, I've written down here lenses that can open interdimensional perception. I have this notion of, like the unseen kingdom, so to speak. You know, Elisha says, "Open his eyes that he can see." And instead of being, hemmed in on all sides by foes, there's like an army of angels standing
Right.
ready.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So that is our prophecy and our magic system. I think it's good. It's gonna offer us a variety of stories. I have some really cool sci-fi story ideas with that. Next is fighting style. What I drew.
I'm a sucker for like cheesy kung fu movies.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Hand to hand, right? And typically you wear specific gloves, right, that are different colors, right, in order to distract. So let's call this fighting style like the dueling style. It's like a kung fu. It's like considered a royal art sort of idea. It's like when you would challenge someone to a duel in the royal court, this is what you would do. It's called Craig Sagan or whatever.
Write that down, Craig Sagan.
Craig Sagan. Sorry, Craig and Sagan. Sorry. And it's just like a combination of quick sort of it's a lot of move sets, so it's like everyone knows the dove extending their wing, which is like this move, and then there's this move, but then each individual master kind of has their own little spins they put onto it. Some of them paint half their hands, have gloves that are half their hands. Some of them paint their face. It's like these different kind of ways to get the upper hand, but it's kind of resulted in, like, let's say five different main fighting styles.
And I think it's something that seeps down, and maybe like the high court is, high trained, because of course, that's always how it is. But even down into like different business sectors, like if you apply for a job, they will run you under a test of Kai Sagan.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, because that's what I get from the kung fu movies. There's one that I remember watching that was absolutely hilarious. This guy, he comes home from, being in China for years. And like instantly he gets in a fight with someone he meets on the beach, right? Just some like masked figure. Of course, all the kung fu sounds, and it's like, all this stuff. And then it's like, and then he gets away and he's like, I didn't know like home had changed so much. And then it's like he comes in and there's like a festival going on.
Yeah.
But then again, like this one monk at the shrine like sees that he's wearing Chinese clothes, and it's like, what is a foreigner doing here? And he's like, whoa, and they get into a fight. Like there was maybe only about like it was like an hour and a half long movie,
Yeah.
and there's maybe only about 30 minutes of that was not a fight scene.
That's awesome.
Like going from one, and it was all like it was good enough stuff, but it was all like just cheesy. And that's
Yeah.
how it was. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't realize that you were
Yeah.
actually Japanese. I guess we can be friends. Let us go to the restaurant. Ha ha ha. Where then like the bandits come in. It's like, oh, the bandits have been terrorizing this area. We must go fight them.
Well, it could be something like kind of like a shinobi style, kind of like Naruto, where there are these groups. So like there are these dojos, right, or places of practice, and then anytime someone needs to travel across the wilderness, they just go by the dojo, and that's one of the ways the dojos make their money is by just hiring on, 5 or 10 of these Krav Sagan fighters, and then they travel with them, and it's like they come in and they say, I need 10 people. And it's like, oh, you need to do a pilgrimage to that town, and you're brand new, so you need to see what it's like in the wild, and you like don't listen to any orders, so you need to get into a fight. You guys go with them, and so one guy's like really astute and like, I am meditating and ready to go to the next town, and one guy's like, I'm so green behind the ears, my voice hasn't dropped yet. And then the other guy's like, rules, I hate rules, and then hijinks ensues as, bandits come or whatever in order to, that could be a way that these different dojos or training centers kind of make money, but then also people pick up on it. There's mercenaries who've never went to schools or who were kicked out, but still kind of, there's off-board schools, there's unlicensed Krav Sagan moves, there's, if you go at 2:00 in the morning outside a bar, someone's going to be hurrah-howing somebody in the chest, and it's like, that wasn't perfect form. I can see why you were kicked out, but like you still use it because it's still really good, so while it is kind of a high art, people still kind of pick it up because it's valuable stuff. Although certain dyes, certain colors are really difficult to find. And if you are caught, with red gloves and you don't have your badge that you belong to this training center, like that's bad. Like where'd you get that red dye from? Like, did you steal it? Whatever. I can see lots of interesting things happening from that. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Next one is Hero's sidekick. I think I know who he is. Okay. He is from one of the sort of upper mountain villages / monasteries, right? The dye makers, right? He is an incredible mind. He's a bit he's grown up his whole life in like peace of a mountain fortress, right? And he's coming down now because he has in his mind a new color, right? He has a new color he wants to make. And he has not conformed to the sort of upper thinking of like, we make red. That's what we do. We are the red makers. He's like, but what about this? How some people can see multiple spectrums of light, the multiple spectrums of color. They look at a color wheel and they can see 20 where other people can only see 3 and some people can see 30. He can see really specific colors, and he believes that if he can sort of make this new color, that it will unlock some new message. Like he doesn't believe he believes that the prophecy, but he thinks that there's more to it than that. He hasn't seen the actual tablets. He hasn't been able to take samples of the actual dyes that were used to match them against the colors to see if they really are, red 6538. Everyone says they're red 6538, but if they were red 6585, then it could mean something completely different, right? So he's really book smart and he's really technically smart, but he needs someone who is going to both help him do the research and sort of teach him the world. Not the world, not like that, teach him the world, but like, protect him. Because he's an innocent soul, and he's a savant, kind of. He needs to be allowed to do what he can do. Like, he needs to be able to like mindlessly walk into an enemy lair and like pick up a flower, and not have to worry about it. And that's kind of, I think, what the hero, we don't have a hero, so that's kind of what the hero is going to be tasked with. At least he's the hero's sidekick, so he helps the hero in some way, but that's kind of his air.
I think he, because of his position, it's like those things where someone has like a badge of importance, and then they end up on the wrong side of town, and like, I have, a level 3 pass. Like, do you know what happens if you mess with me? And like the, bandits are like, uh, like we care about that. This is like, not your side of town, buddy.
You're in
Yeah.
our garden now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe that's, I don't know, where then something that can come up with him is that, he's never been exposed, like you said, he's never been exposed to, that like there's worse places in the world.
Right.
And because of his status, he's always never been like royalty, but always been left alone because people need that skill.
Right.
And inside
Right.
of the, middle to higher class society, they know the kind of position he holds, and, kind of.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. So then we have our last two. First one is, I initially pulled random insert. I don't know if that counts.
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
we'll I'll re-roll that one. That's fine. The unique artifact and unique restaurant. I have a really cool one for unique artifact. Even though it's not a weapon, it's kind of a weapon. It's since we're dealing with light and colors and stuff, it's a sword, right? Made out of a piece of crystal that can refract light around you and make you invisible. It can't be used as a sword because it's made of crystal and it's very fragile, but that's the unique artifact.
Yeah, it works.
And then unique restaurant is, of course, a ramen shop. No, I'm just kidding. Unique restaurant.
So, so to bring the fighting style back in, this unique restaurant is known for having, I don't know, the best whatever cuisine. But the only way to get it is if you can beat the head chef in a private duel
Okay.
of the, what is it, what Sagan?
Krav
Sagan.
That works.
And if you lose, then you have to work at his restaurant for a month.
And then you get to try again.
Or you can go.
Yeah, so he hasn't had to pay labor for like years now.
Yeah, but it's like, and who knows? It could be like one of those, like, it's, just butter on toast. But like,
But still, everyone who's dining there has beat them. So it's like, do I really care about the food when everyone who's hanging out is clearly a high-powered master?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's it. That's 2 from each group. I feel like we have a really solid base. So we will continue this on. We will all be writing short stories based in this universe. And then in 2 months, we will plan to have another episode like this where we talk about our progress. And this is our first time. This is my first time writing a short story. Is this your guys' first time?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So, I'm sure we'll do great. But so next week it'll be business like normal. We'll have a story, improv story we'll be thinking about all this week to release to you next week. If you have any questions about our process, if you want updates, send us an email at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com or add us on Twitter at @getsbettercast. If you want to know how it's going, if you want to give us ideas, your ideas, I'd love to hear your ideas. Obviously, they're your ideas. They're copyrighted for you. You get all royalties. Should we become multimillionaire published authors, which probably won't happen, but one can dream. And if you were kind of irritated that this wasn't a standard story episode and that we're mixing up the mold and changing things and change is not good, I would say just wait. It gets better. Thanks, guys.